trying to think what like the best film adaptation of a book is that I've seen.
That you've seen?
Wow. I don't know. I'm just trying to think because obviously the stigma is most film adaptations are worse than the book. But
Yeah.
there's definitely some which are better as films. I'm trying to think of some. There was one I was thinking about recently.
Well, it's Scott Pilgrim. So Scott Pilgrim is 7 comic books, and I read all the comic. The comic books are really easy to read actually, and they're really good. Up until like the last few, where the film changes it, like Edgar Wright changed it to make it less weird, and the less weird ending is so much better. Like genuinely, the book ending
But
is
Andy,
just
you like weird now.
no, but the book ending is so far out of left field, and there's no like setup for it at all that it just doesn't make any sense, and it's really unsatisfying and just like, okay, what the fuck? This is weird. Why has this happened? Whereas Edgar Wright's ending is just way better and superior, and it's much more entertaining to watch. Which is, I was going to do a fundamental about that, so I don't. Why not? Here we go.
We can do it now.
Well, I mean, we're there now, aren't we?
Yeah.
Well, because basically I really like the film, and I feel like the film is underrated because no one really talks about it anymore.
No, it's sort of the forgotten Edgar Wright film, isn't it, in a way?
Yeah. But it works really well, and he's adapted the source material very well, and as I said, he's made a very positive change, I think. He's also done really well to make seven books into one film and make it work and flow really well.
And not be like 5 hours long.
Yeah, and the pacing is really good, and it just works. But also, I feel like his visual style suits the comic book's comedic style very, very well as well.
Yeah. Well, I think Edgar Wright's like sort of use of editing and stuff is definitely, I think, at least comic book inspired to some degree, because there's a very much of like an over exaggeration of his like camera moves and stuff, like his crash zooms and all that. So I think it's probably quite a good fit as a director. Yeah.
Yeah. I also like the casting is fantastic on everyone, basically. Sorry, just fangirling over Scott Pilgrim here. Anyway, in the last comic book, it turns out that Ramona Flowers, who is Scott's girlfriend, and her ex-boyfriend, there's the League of Exes, or what they are, and to go out with Ramona, Scott has to defeat all 7 of them. And the last one is Gideon, and he is, like super evil. He's G-Man.
See, it's because of Gravity Falls. When you say Gideon, I just think of Gideon from Gravity Falls.
Yeah. He's super evil, and he's like sets up the League of X's or whatever, and he's got like a inhibitor chip in the back of Ramona's head, and it just doesn't really make sense. Like, I don't really know what his motivation was, but he wants to put her in like the girlfriend machine. Or whatever yeah, exactly. There's like a girlfriend machine. I don't know, but there's like 2 or 3 other. I don't know. But there's like 2 or 3
more information.
There's like 2 or 3 other girls in there, and
this seems disturbing.
Exactly. It's
is
so
this
weird.
like some weird SCP-914 thing? We just shove girls in and one like Supergirl comes out at the end or something.
But there's like the girlfriend machine, and I don't understand the point of it. But he wants to like capture Ramona and put her in there so he can keep her forever or whatever. It's like he wants to cryogenically freeze them so he can own her forever. Is essentially what I think is the point.
Right. And he named it the girlfriend machine.
Well, no, it's not called the girlfriend. It might be called the girlfriend machine. I've not got a clue. I can't remember. But there's the girlfriend machine, and basically him and Scott have this fight, and Scott eventually wins and gets Ramona Flowers, right?
Right.
But there's this much more like, they just have this conversation, and it's really weird, and it's just like, what the fuck is going on? I have not a clue. I don't understand anything that's just happened. All I know is that at the end of it, Scott won, Whereas in the film, they have like this final battle, and it's really good, and Scott goes to Gideon's club, and they have this sword fight, and it's like, oh, Scott got the power of love, but it's not quite enough to beat Gideon, and so he gets like an extra life and gets to reset and has another go, and it's like, but this time he does it for, there's a much better moral lesson there. Also, there isn't the girlfriend machine. But there's still the inhibitor chip in the back
So
of
wait,
Ramona's
what does the
head.
inhibitor
But
chip do? Is this like a sort of a mind control thing?
it stops Ramona from being able to leave Gideon, I think.
What, romantically or physically leave the room?
Like she always wants to be near him or something. Like she hates him, but she always, because of this chip, she always wants to be near him, like with him, you know?
Right.
And she manages to get away, but then Gideon finds her. Whatever, you know, there's loads of stuff. And then, so in the film, you just get this cool sword fight, and there's like this nice moral lesson, and you still have the happy ending without all this fucking weird bullshit. And it feels, the other thing is like, there's video games are obviously a big theme throughout, and the final battle in the film feels like a video game boss battle.
Yeah.
Whereas in the comic book, it's like, what the anime fuck am I watching right now? Or reading, I guess.
So is this a commonly sort of do most other fans accept that the film ending's better than the books, or is this just you? Or is this like...
I'm not really sure, actually. I know that I prefer that ending. I haven't really looked it up. No one seems to really complain about it or talk about it at all.
Because my normal question at the end of these is, and why do you think the change was made? But like, do you reckon the change was made literally because the ending of the comic book was badly received? Or...
Yeah, I think it must have been, because I can't see why. I don't know. But also, yeah, it must have been badly received, and it's confusing. It wouldn't have worked on screen at all, I don't think. Not without, you know, it would just be so weird. But the other thing is, like, the final battle with, like, Gideon is built up really well in the comic book and in the film. Who is G-Man? Who is G? Oh, they go to this club and it's owned by the G-Man. And, you know, there's this whole thing about the League of X's and all that stuff. And they lead all up to this, and the film and the comic book both do this really well. So that the payoff is that when you meet G-Man and you have this final fight, it makes sense. But there is no lead up to the fucking girlfriend machine at all. So when he just plops that out in front of you, you're like, what the fuck is this?
I'm very tempted to name this episode The Girlfriend Machine now.
Okay. Yeah, it's just confusing and weird. Also, another small change they make, but it does make a big difference, is in the comic book, I think, takes place over a longer period of time. Which is, you know, fine. Like, they've got to cut a lot out for the film to make sense. But they cut out Scott's, like, depressed in the film. In the comic book. Because Ramona's left him and he's, like, really sad. And all he does is sit and play video games all day.
And use his girlfriend machine. Everyone has one.
Everyone's got a girlfriend machine.
Get yours today.
And they cut that out because it makes you... I don't know, I don't really like the 7th book because it's like, makes you not really like Scott. Like, in the film you sympathise for him and you're like, you know, he does this for Ramona, and then he's like, oh, actually, it's better to do it for yourself, like the self-respect is what wins in the day or whatever. Whereas in the comic book, he's just mopey around and he's like depressed and he's refusing to go out and fight for himself. And it's like for the first half of the comic book, and it's like, well, all the respect and love we have for this character is being rapidly deteriorated in the first half of the last comic book, you know? And it's like such a strange opening for the end. Like, I've got nothing against him trying to make you see the characters in a different way or whatever before the final thing. Like, you know, having a, you know, like how Han Solo fucks off and then he comes back at the end to help Luke.
Yeah.
You know, having that, I don't know, what would you call that? Revelation of the characters coming back to then do the right thing. Is that what you call it? I don't know.
Oh, there is a word.
There is a word.
Now you've asked me to name it. I now can't think what it is. I mean, I want to say return, but that's probably a smarter word for it than that. I'll think about it.
You know what I mean, though.
Yeah. Well, it's sort of like as well, like you think like Back to the Future when when oh god, no, I can't remember the names. when Lorraine's being like assaulted by Biff and George walks away, and there's a moment like, will he turn back or not? It's all like that in a way.
Yeah.
It's a kind of like, oh, you think he's given up, and it's like, oh no, but then and then it's like, oh no, he's coming back, yeah.
Like, that's such a brilliant character moment for him. But it's really out of character for Scott, because, you know, for 6 comic books, he's been this really solid, fun character. And then just randomly for the first half of the last comic book, he's a completely different character who is unlikable. And it's like, why are you making your main character, who is beloved, not fun to be with, you know?
Yeah.
It's just an interesting change that they just got rid of almost entirely, and completely get rid of it. Like, there's a few scenes where he's, you know, a bit down, but doesn't drag on. Book. Yeah, it doesn't drag on for so long that you're starting to not like the main character, you know? But yeah. There's also a few changes that they made that was definitely for the better. They got rid of a lot of the weirder aspects of the comic books, which is fine, because it's, you know, I guess it was for a wider audience. Like, there's this whole thing about Ramona has an alternate dimension in her handbag, or a pocket dimension, I guess, or a handbag dimension.
What's the ultimate about dimension?
Not alternate, like a pocket dimension.
Alternate, not ultimate, right?
Oh, not ultimate, no, alternate.
The ultimate dimension.
The ultimate.
No other dimension compares. Yeah. You've seen 1, 2, and 3D, and you've even heard of 4D, but this is the ultimate D. Wait, no, that's not
Oh my god. Wow. Okay. Amazing.